Hey everyone, my name is Eli Rivera. I'm an account manager here at Franchise Ramp. I'm the guy in the back end who's clicking all the buttons, making sure that you guys are getting famous within your targeted age range and demographics. So today I'm just going to go over really letting your community know you exist and how to win in the long term while still getting results on the short term. So a few different points that we'll touch on, just the idea and the concept of staying out of sight, out of mind. Just like you're going to stay in sight, you're staying in your potential prospects or customers' mind as well. And then also the perfect prospect that everyone chases. That can be across the industry. We'll get into that as well, regardless of brand or regardless of your industry. And then also the long-term branding and how short-term wins actually are going to win for you. So we'll go ahead and go to the next slide here. And so the idea of staying out of sight, out of mind, in sight, in mind is you really want to stay relevant as much as possible. So really you want to have a valuable message that you're always sharing with your community. Now your community can be, if you have say like a tribe of online followers, that can be social media, or that can be in person. You always want to be giving some type or some form of a value. So that can be an offer, that can be tips and tricks, again, regardless of industry that you're in. And then also staying relevant by staying alive online. I'm sure you know by now, if you're not online, chances are your community does not know you exist. So you always want to be pushing something out there. And if you're not advertising, your competition is 110% of the time. And your competition isn't necessarily just people in your industry. So this goes across the board. If you're in fitness, it's not just gyms that are your competition. If you're a sandwich shop, it's not just sandwich shops that are your competition. And this kind of bleeds into the next slide here as well, that everyone is chasing this perfect prospect. And you really want to play like the big boys, but on a smaller level. So before I hop into that, really, everyone is going after that perfect, 30-year-old mother of two that lives, a mile to 2 miles down the street. And if you're in the fitness industry, for example, they're not the only, or your gym competition around the area isn't your only competition. You have the nail salon that's competing for them. You have now the elections competing for the mother that wants to vote different than the husband. You have, I don't know what else there is, tire shops competing for the same exact prospect. So really you want to think like the big dogs do in terms of demographics. And what that is essentially broadening up your targeting and your message for everyone. You look at Apple, for example, they have mastered the art of selling to the lower end demographics, or the lower income levels, I should say. Same thing with the higher end income levels. I saw something the other day where it says you can't tell if someone's either a hipster or someone who is walking around homeless. The only difference you can tell is if they're holding an iPhone in their hand. So they've perfected that idea of getting their product in front of everyone and in everyone's hand. And you really want to keep that same concept with your business. So the next part here, we're going to go into just really how to brand in the long term, and then we'll follow up with those short-term wins. So this little graph here that I put together, I took this from Facebook directly, so I'll share the link with you as well on this. And keep in mind, this doesn't directly apply just to fitness or just a sandwich shop. It's really across the board. And if this is something you're interested in, definitely work closely with your success manager, and we'll see if it's right for you. This is something we've tested just in general across the board. So if we look at this top section here, this top row where it says results driven only, that's saying that we're going after a specific target audience. So imagine this as that perfect mother, 30 and up, mother of two. And while it is targeted straight towards them, we may be affecting a higher percentage, but we're not getting a lot of people impacted. So where it says audience impacted, you can look at that as like a lead, for example. So you can see in this example, 1 out of 8. And if we look a little bit lower, where we're pushing a message out to a bigger demographic, we may be affecting only 8% in this example on the bottom, but we're still getting more leads. So now we're getting more leads, or more of a results-driven campaign. We're getting results back. And then also at the same time, we're getting your message in front of a lot more people as well. And that's the idea of branding, is staying in sight, in mind as much as possible. We'll go to the next slide here, and then I'll show you that kind of short-term winning example. So Another graph here, you can see where it says reach optimize and action optimize. You can look at this as that results driven and results and branding driven as well. So in the example here, if you follow the graph here where it says reach, and we're looking at 5.2 million, given, it may not be that you have 5.2 million in your area. It may be, 100,000 people, for example. But when you start adding in the idea of branding and constantly getting in front of people rather than constantly saying, hey, give me your information, I want you in my studio right away, but also playing that branding long-term and getting a message deeper, you're going to affect maybe a similar percentage in this example, just 4%, but of a lot more people. So it's that idea, do you want 10% of 100 people or 5% of 100,000 people, right? So playing the short term definitely is going to get you the results you're looking for. And then playing the long term is going to stay in front of as many people as possible and really make you a celebrity, in your targeted demographic. And here at the bottom right, you can see again, this is where you can do a little bit more due diligence or research on it. Just friendly reminder, work with your FSM, your success manager, to see if this is right for you. Thanks.